People are successful not necessarily because they work hard, they just do the right things in given situations. How does one get to do the right things in given situations? Human life is balanced between perception and expression. What we perceive, how we integrate that within ourselves, and how we find expression in terms of action in the world. If people are overly into action without perceiving, if one does not enhance one's ability to perceive and integrate and just gets into action, all they will end up is with hard work and no great results. If you have to produce wonderful results for whatever efforts you make, it's very important that you enhance your ability to perceive and integrate. This is very important considering that human life is very brief. The time that we have is very limited. Well, with the virus, it's much more limited probably, but it's anyway very limited. When we have such a limited amount of time and also limited amount of energy, it's very, very important that our expression is coming with a certain focus, that it will create maximum impact. For this, the fundamental is that you have a very keen sense of perception and integrating all that you perceive as a part of yourself so that when you express, it is impactful. To be successful in the world, two fundamental qualities are that you must be able to harness the prowess of your mind and your body. If you want to harness the mind, one most important quality is you must know how to be equanimous. Equanimity gives you access to different dimensions of your mind. If there is no equanimity in a skewed sense of mind, your ability to use the mind is greatly reduced. Another dimension is on the level of your energy, both physiologically and internally, you must be exuberant. Only when your energies are exuberant within you, you have the ability to tide over various obstacles that one may face in day-to-day activity towards one's success. If these two dimensions are brought into your mind and your body, that you're equanimous and you're exuberant, success will come to you much more easily. But beyond this, to be successful, one needs insight, inspiration and integrity. Insight means you pay attention to life around you in such a way that you are able to see something that most people cannot see. Another dimension is to be constantly be inspired. So it's very important, the reason why you're doing what you're doing, to look at the larger dimension or the contribution that you're making through your simple act of whatever you may be doing in your life. Every action that every human being performs in their life is a contribution to some dimension of this world. Somebody is benefited by whatever you may be doing. So being conscious of the contribution that you're making will keep you constantly inspired. And integrity is very important because when you want to function in this world, how much trust you have generated with all the people that you deal with on a daily basis will determine how easy or how hard your daily efforts are going to be. If there is an atmosphere of trustfulness, your ability to work will be greatly enhanced simply because everybody will pave the way for you rather than setting up impediments for you. What is being looked forward to from a leader is, he should be able to see things that other people are not able to see. Leadership is not about you asserting yourself over somebody. It is about being able to harness everybody's aspirations and make it happen. What difference can you make in the world is no more in terms of charity. How innovative is your business? That's the business right now. Essentially, running an organization means, in some way, you're managing maybe 1,000 minds or 10,000 minds. If you cannot even manage yours, how are you going to manage everybody else's? The success, even in a business space, is about growth. How many people are you touching? How vast is your operations? This is the growth of a business, not necessarily how much gold have you kept. For the very first time in the history of humanity, we have the necessary resource, we have the necessary capability, we have the necessary technology to address every human problem on the planet. Even 25 years ago, we couldn't have dreamt of it. But the only thing that is missing is consciousness. We are still thinking you versus me, we are not thinking we. When you have such a privilege in your hand, which is called as leadership, if you recognize that the work that you're doing is very important, first thing is you must work upon yourself. So leadership at any level, whether you're running your own business or a state or a nation, three basic qualities which sets a leader apart and makes him into a fruitful proposition for everybody around him is his integrity, his ability to inspire people to do the right things, and above all, insight. We have to understand that leadership today has to rise beyond national identities, because only then true democracy for humanity becomes a meaningful process. Changing the consciousness of the leadership shouldn't take a long time if you find access to them. The only global mechanism on the planet is economic mechanism. Politics, military, religion, all these things are split up. Economy is one thing which bridges across all divides. Only an economic leader can cross boundaries and go where he wants. A political leader cannot do it, a military leader cannot do it, a religious leader cannot do it. The only person who can really build what he wants across the globe is only the economic leader ultimately. In this effort, at one time I aimed at the political leadership. Then I found economic leaders are easier to work with, more willing to change. And I think it's very important. The forum has done a fantastic job of putting these people together. Inclusiveness means making sure every human being on this planet has an active role to play in the economic process. Once you're a leader, the very way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, every single thing that you do affects millions of people. When such a privilege has been conferred upon an individual human being, I think it is a fundamental responsibility of every leader to do something about himself within himself, to elevate himself in whichever way possible. It's very, very essential today. In all these years of life, how many of you have passed through one 24-hour stretch, that is one single day, absolutely joyfully, without a single moment of irritation, agitation, pain, frustration? 24 hours. Very few people on this planet can say yes to this, very few. The only and the worst crime that you can commit in this life is you did not explore the full depth and potential of life. Somebody decides what I should eat, what I should wear, where I should go, where I should not go, you call this slavery. But now somebody decides what should happen within me. Is this not slavery? Anybody can make you go haywire any moment in your life. Yes, people can provoke you to lose your balance within yourself. So, if this doesn't change, your ability to master your destiny is very minimal. You want your industry to go your way, you want your management to go your way, you want your family to go your way. Even on that level, if you have much more control over your physical body, your mind, your emotion and your energies, you will see very easily the world will start following you. Rather than you being a slave of the situations, you start creating situations the way you want it. So this is an inner science. As there is an external science for external well-being, there's an inner science for inner well-being. why we are trying to learn is because we know, however we have been doing our activity till now, we could do it better. So the word insight itself means just this, that you see better. Because once you are placed in a position of leadership, you are expected to see better. Because leadership means, in some way, either you climb onto your perch or somebody placed you there. We don't know how you got there. One way or the other, you got onto a higher perch. Once you're on a higher perch, you are expected to see better. If you sit on a higher perch and don't see any better than people around you, you will become an object of ridicule. Insight is not a concretized amount of knowledge. Insight is a certain level of perception that whatever happens, you're able to see something better than other people around you. Insight does not mean I have some knowledge about something which others do not have right now. They may not have it right now, tomorrow they may have it and they may have something better than you. But the important thing is to sharpen our faculties in such a way that we are always able to see better. We are always able to see what is there. If all the other things around you become more, your money became more, your wealth became more, your power became more, even your knowledge became more, but you did not become more, then you will see a vacuum in your life which you will suffer immensely. So before other things rise, this one must rise in some way. A whole lot of people don't become better with wealth. A whole lot of people don't become better with power. A whole lot of people don't become better with knowledge. They become worse than what they were simply because they did not stay ahead of the other things which are growing around them. A whole lot of people I have heard this again and again, they become better when they fail. Unfortunate. I want you to become better with success, not better with failure. Anywhere you go, I hear in business schools around the world, what have you learned from your failure? I don't want you to learn anything from your failure. First thing is, I don't want you to fail. Oh, is there such a possibility? I say, why not? Why can't one move from success to success? Why does one believe only with failure? Only when you're humbled or humiliated, you will learn. No, when everything is going great, you must learn. Yes or no? Yes. If this has to happen, whatever amount of attention and energy we are putting behind what's around us, we need to put similar amount of energies and attention to what is within us. I am seeing a whole lot of people are suffering their success much more than they suffer their failure. Successful people are carrying grave, long faces. Those who have failed, once they come to terms with their failure, they're taking a walk on the beach and they're quite happy. They think if they're joyful, they cannot do important things. They think if they're joyful, they cannot carry responsibilities. What is your experience? If you are doubtful about this, there is substantial medical and scientific evidence today that only when you're in pleasantness of experience, your body and your brain will work at its best. How successful you are in the world or in the activities that you perform in the world is essentially determined by how well you can harness your body and your brain right now. We want to look at possibilities where you will be capable of accessing an intelligence beyond your intellect. This is a living cosmos. Just look at anything. Look at a leaf, a flower, an ant. Otherwise, in the next few days, if you miss all this, maybe you will see an elephant. You pay attention to anything, Everything smacks of extraordinary intelligence, isn't it so? Yes or no? If there was no intelligence in the air, if there was no intelligence in the soil, if there was no intelligence in the space, you think all this would happen? The question is only, do you have access or no? So we would like to see that as you focus on the business issues, I also want you to focus on what's within so that this gets equipped to access an intelligence beyond intellect, an intelligence which will make life into your play, any challenge of life into your play. Right now you think on is stressful, off is relaxing. No, this is because people have misunderstood a few fundamentals. I want you to be very intensely on, at the same time relaxed. In tension and laxity, you will not know life. In intensity and relaxation, everything functions at its best.
There is no such thing as leadership style. If you're a true leader, you don't think you're a leader, first of all. You don't think you're a leader. People think you're a leader. You just doing what is needed. So for doing what's needed, your style of function today is not determined by your fancy or your whim or what you're stuck to in your mind. The style of functioning today is according to the demands of the reality of today. If today the reality is such, people around you are very sensitive, gentle, you operate one way. Tomorrow, your entrepreneurship or your leadership is of a bunch of donkeys, it's different. You can't employ the same method everywhere. There are different types of people in the world and different kinds of situations in the world. There are some people, if you just look at them, they understand why they're being looked at and they'll correct themselves. You just look at them, it's enough. They know why they're being looked at, what they missed without that look, they fix it. There's somebody else, if you look at them, they won't understand, they'll just stare back at you. They don't know why they're being looked at. So if you tell them gently, they will get it. There's somebody else, if you tell them gently, they won't get it. You have to yell at them, then they'll get it. There's somebody else, even if you yell, they won't get it. You have to knock on their head and tell them 5 times, then they'll get it. If it is not your style, it is the way the situation is, accordingly you operate. And if your actions are irrelevant to the situation in which you exist, how can you call yourself a leader because you got some style? No style. Whatever you do it in style, that's all. No a particular style.
My question is to Sadhguru. We heard Mr. Madiwala talk about a whole scientific process of generating insights and how he has trainings and then he has teams that pair up and then there's observations that are recorded. I just wanted to ask you, every word that you speak resonates and connects with so many of us. What is your process of gathering insights?
Oh. My process of gathering insights is to just look at things as they are. I do not contaminate any situation that I enter into with myself, simply looking at it the way it is. If you simply look at it, everything is laid out right there. The only person who stands between you and what is in front of you is yourself. If you remove that one thing, you will see everything just the way it is. So it's a pretty simple process. But Because most people have worked in the reverse direction for a long time, it looks like a very difficult thing. It is not. When you drive a team, there are two aspects to it. One thing is, you have to make everybody get engaged with what they're doing, have as much insight into whatever little things they're fulfilling, the little pieces of the whole larger piece. At the same time, you might have seen through the whole thing, but still you have to allow the team a learning process and make them feel they arrived there by themselves, which is a very subtle operation. Even if you know it, if you spell it out and say, just do it, without enthusiasm, if the team goes into it, the thing will not succeed. So you still have to, even if you've seen it beforehand, you still have to give time for people to make their own discoveries, arrive at it, do a little bit of, trial and error and everything, though you know what to do. Because that's important. Because if the team doesn't get engaged, like they're discovering something and doing something and making something new happen, you know it all, you won't have a vibrant team. There are some points where there are chasms that you have to cross. There you don't… yesterday Dilip was saying he does the military style of function. When there are deep chasms to cross, you take on as a military commander and just tell them, shut up and cross. Because there if you allow everybody's opinion and ideas to happen, most probably you will go in. So this subtle… I'm sure every business person is doing this. There are times when you're letting the teams lead you, and there are times when you take charge of everything and force it across certain points. I don't even think it's an issue, either it's now or in the past. It's never been an issue. If somebody exhibited a certain level of competence and success, nobody is looking at your age. Nobody is really considering the age at any time. Age was a factor when you were waiting to inherit something from your father. He wouldn't leave it till he's done with it, okay? If you want to build something, I don't think age is a factor. Anybody who successfully does something, irrespective of his age, is always recognized. Nobody's even thinking whether young or old. That's a wrong notion. You must just focus on what you can create. Your age matters only if you're looking at marriage. You understand? If you're looking at any other accomplishment, I don't see where age even comes in. I don't think somebody has to think, I'm a young leader, I'm an old leader. Are you capable of doing something that'll inspire 1 million people? Sure. Are you capable of doing something that millions of people would want to make use of? This all the question is. Who cares how old you are? It is within the minds of people who have not succeeded. It is those who have not succeeded who are complaining. Those who have succeeded are just focusing on what they need to do, isn't it? If you consider a human being as a resource, the nature of resource is such, if you pick up a resource, we already know its qualities. A human being is a possibility. So when you get a human being in your hands, if you think this is a resource, you will never unfold the genius of that human being. So considering a living being as a resource is a crime.
I think the first thought that is required is for us to think that we are not just HR managers, we are managers of human possibilities.
People is business, internal or even external. Customers are people. Your supply chain guys are people. Your vendors are people.
But for this, the people who lead have to set that example, set that atmosphere, set that level of inspiration, above all, set an atmosphere of love and joy.
All the assessment that we do in recruitment is what are the strengths 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. have any one of you ever recruited person who has got more weaknesses than his strength? Anybody? When the person comes on board, then the whole year we are looking at for all his weaknesses. Because we want to then put into developmental program, mentorship, coaching, scoring, appraisals. If you don't look at the guy's weaknesses and only look at the person's strengths and capabilities and develop the capabilities, he's very likely to deliver much more.
Why is there work and life separately? This is because essentially most human beings are suffering their work. Somewhere else they will enjoy. It's out of this, thank God Friday has come. Our schools are 7 days, our yoga center is 7 days, we are all 7-day people because we are doing what we love to do. This is what we would do no matter where we go. So, where is the question of taking a break?
And they will only come and contribute and stay with you if they think that they are able to value. It's not about economic incentive, it's most of the time about making an impact.
Unfortunately, many people believe, and even management schools are teaching, unless you are stressed and pressured, you will not produce your best. If you set up such an atmosphere where everybody is doing their best, you will not need any management, it will simply happen the best.
Journey of a cynic to a believer. I'm going back with volumes of material in my mind. I think this has been one of the significant programs that I've run in a long time.
We never looked at people as a possibility. It will not be an HR department anymore. I think it would be a possibility department.
The way you have structured it in terms of excellent speakers coming in, embedding the yoga sessions as well. The way it was conducted, I think that was excellent, and thank you so much.
Human beings have essentially come in a seed form. A seed realizes its potential. If you put it in the right kind of soil, then one seed can make the entire earth green. What an individual human being will become essentially depends upon whether we can unfold this possibility or not.
Young leaders that you've seen, where have been the susceptibilities, the vulnerabilities that over time they can work their way through, maybe giving them a little bit of guidance now can help?
I think the biggest problem with the so-called leaders of the day is we're not really producing leaders, we're just producing managers and supervisors. They come out as leaders and they suffer every moment of their life, this is what I'm saying. Because leadership doesn't come because of your ambition. Leadership happens… See, let's understand this. Ambition means you're tweaking up your desire, which is waste of time because your desires are based on what's happening around you or what has happened till now. An exaggerated version of what's around you is your desire. You can't desire something that you have not seen. You only desire something that you have seen, mildly exaggerated or overly exaggerated, it depends who you are. But leadership is about being able to take a group of people or a nation or the entire world in a direction and to a destination that they have not imagined possible. If it's something that they could imagine, they don't need you. They need a leader because he should be capable of taking them to a place where they themselves cannot imagine possible. For this, a leader needs a profound sense of insight. When I say insight, that you're able to see something that other people cannot see. People are interested in doing things, but they're not interested in working upon themselves. If you believe that what you're doing is important, the most important thing in your life is to work upon yourself, to enhance your perception skills, to be able to see what others cannot see. You have an insight into what you wish to do. It is not even a question of what do I wish to do, it is a question of what is most needed right now. Because if you do what's needed, only then it's leadership. If I do something that's fanciful to me, then there'll be nobody behind because this is all about me. So, the young leaders, the most important thing is that you don't tweak your desire in the name of ambition. You tweak your competence. If you keep on tweaking your competence, depending upon the times in which we live, opportunities that come up in front of us, naturally you will fall into the rhythm of what is there. If you have an enormous competence, then I don't think the world can put you down. It's the ability to bring out the best in others that makes you a leader. You should never aspire to become a leader. If you commit yourself, dedicate yourself, devote yourself to a particular goal, to a particular cause, which is inclusive in nature. Either it includes a group of people, or a business, or a company, or a state, or a nation, or the world. If you include people into a certain cause, or in other words, if you address well-being, human well-being, not as just my well-being, if you include a few more people, their well-being is included into your intention. Depending upon the level of your dedication and devotion, people will recognize you as a leader. You should never aspire or claim to be a leader. Others should see you as a leader because your level of commitment, devotion and dedication to what you're doing is much more intense than anybody else around you. That makes you a leader. What about competence? Yes, competence is very important, but believe me, competent people can come and go in a movement. In our commitment to success of a certain cause, many people who consider themselves competent may come and go, but it is the one who is absolutely devoted to a cause which is inclusive in nature who will get recognized as a leader. Well, some may get selected, elected, chosen, dropped upon you because of their genetic material or their parentage. Well, they will suffer their leadership. And of course, they will make people also suffer their leadership because when a leader is not committed to what he is standing up for, then it's suffering for himself and suffering for everybody who unfortunately happens to be around him. So leadership is not a way of throwing your weight around. Leadership means life offers you a perch. That means people have placed you a little higher than themselves. When that happens, you must see better, you must think better, and you must act in a more committed way than anybody else around you. Only then leadership will be a joyful and a fruitful process. Otherwise, it will be a ridiculous and great suffering, as I said, both for you and for everybody around you. So, you want to be a leader, don't try to be a leader. All you have to do is, every day just count in a day how many people are you meeting. Let's say you're meeting 10 people. Make sure the 10 people that you meet, you will make a positive impact on them every day. You become a leader. It doesn't matter, you're not elected or selected, but every day whoever you meet, ensure that you make a positive impact, then you become a leader. You make a negative impact, you will be an unfortunate human being. You let it pass by, well, life will pass by.
If we want to live well, both externally and internally, how well we live here. simply depends on how well we manage our surroundings and how well we manage ourselves. Fundamentally, life is management. If you don't know how to maintain your body, your mind, your emotion, your situations, your life in general, your home, your communities, nations and the world, the quality of our life is just how well we manage things with ourselves. But generally, we are thinking of management, we are applying ourselves to management only in terms of business management or industry management, or generally we are talking management only with economic situations, not life as a whole. In many ways, it's unfortunate that today the most predominant factor that rules the planet has become economics. The other aspects of life have been totally pushed to the corner. When economics rules, when economics is the only thing that we are thinking about, we will tend to become very gross and unhappy in so many ways. What I see is, we are conducting various levels of programs to very top-level executives in some big corporations in the world, major corporations in the world. What I see is people who have failed in their lives, they're suffering their failure. People who have succeeded in their life, they're suffering their success. If you suffer your failure, it's okay, because failure comes easy. If you suffer your success, that is tragedy, because success doesn't come easy. So, something that you worked for, something that you always longed for, something that you wanted to create in your life, when it happens, if you start suffering that's real tragedy of life. But a large number of successful people on the planet are suffering their success. When I say suffering their success, if you look at people, look at yourself and see, you're still young people, most of you. When you're 5 years of age, how happy you were, and today, how happy you are. If we make a chart out of it, a graph out of it, is it moving upward or downward? In 24 hours' time, how many moments are you really happy? If you look at this, is it going up or down? Is it going up or down? Down. So that means you're a bad manager. Because after all, everything that you did in your life is in pursuit of happiness, isn't it? All that you're doing in your life, you're doing it because you believe that is your happiness. You educate yourself, you pursue careers, you build families, you run after your ambitions. So many things you do because somewhere you believe fulfilling those things will bring you happiness. After doing all that, if happiness is not multiplying, it is going down, that means you are a bad manager of yourself. Anybody who does not know how to manage his own body, his own mind, his own emotion and his energies, if he is managing outside situations, he is only managing them by accident, not by intent, the way he wants it. Because if you do not know how to manage your mind, how to manage your energies, how to manage your interiority, managing the outside is bound to be accidental. When you manage situations by accident, you exist as an accident. When you exist as an accident, you are a potential calamity. When you exist as a potential calamity, being anxious all the time becomes a natural part of life. Anywhere you go today, people are talking stress management. Especially a few years ago when I first went to United States, wherever I go, people were talking stress management. I could not understand why anybody wants to manage his stress. I can understand you want to manage your business, your finance, your family, your property, whatever, but why would you want to manage stress? It took me a while to understand these people have come to the conclusion that there is no other way to live. Somehow people have come to the conclusion that if you do things in the world, you're bound to be stressful. One is not stressful because of what they're doing. One is stressful because he's a bad manager of himself. He doesn't know how to manage his own systems. That is why he's stressful. It is not the nature of the job which makes one stressful. You ask a chaparasi, he is also stressful. You ask the top executive, he is also stressful. Everybody believes their job is stressful. No job is stressful. If you have no control over your own systems, you will be stressful. Whether you do something or you don't do anything, isn't it so? See, management means… fundamentally, management means we want to decide the course of our destiny. That's management, isn't it? We don't want to live here by accident. We want to take our lives where we want to go. That's management, isn't it so? If you're managing by accident, you are not a manager. Without you, things will run better. So once you say, I'm a manager, that means somewhere you have decided that you want to go in a particular way. You want to have a certain kind of situation, both inward and outward. So everybody is a manager in his own capacity, but in different levels and different types. Whether you manage a kitchen where you cook for 4 people, or you manage a large industry where 10,000 people work, fundamentally, if you want to have a good kitchen or a good industry, you must be a good manager of that situation, isn't it? So whether you're managing a little kitchen or a large industry, if you want to manage outside situations, generally you will have to manage material and people around you. If you have to manage 10 people or 10,000 people around you, you have to manage 10 minds or 10,000 minds around you. But if you have no management over your own mind, you managing 10,000 minds is going to be a disaster. In the process of doing something, if we are destroying human beings, which is happening right now, in the process of managing a situation, the man is broken, then this kind of management is no good, because after all, every management that we do is only for human well-being. If we are doing management for human well-being, in the process of doing something, in the process of managing situations, it is not only about producing something or making profit. Human beings should rise to their full potential. If we manage a situation properly, in simple process of working, you and the people who are working with you should be able to raise to their full potential. When I say rising to full potential, not just work potential, but as human beings, they must be able to rise to their full potential. If people work together, then people should be able to rise to the peak of their love, peace, compassion within themselves. If this doesn't happen, then it's bad management, because all management, the basic intent is human well-being. If that is not happening, you're just producing something, you're making little profit, but human beings are getting broken in the process, it doesn't mean anything. So if this kind of management has to happen, that just in managing a business, you find people around you raise to their peak, then you have to spend a certain amount of time in focusing on your inner management. If this doesn't happen, you will only manage situations by accident. A lot of people have understood management as a way of throwing their weight around. Can I tell you a joke? Are you okay? On a certain day, a lion was really feeling great within himself. He just was walking and a little rabbit was going, he caught him and roared at him, "Who is the king of the jungle?" The little rabbit, terrified, said, You, of course you." He let him go, swaggered around a little bit, Then he found a fox, caught him. Who is the king of the jungle? Oh my lord, it's you, of course, nobody else but you. Then he swaggered around a little bit, caught a few more animals, everybody screamed out of fear, you are the king of the jungle. Then he was in full swagger, like a manager. King of the jungle, Walked into a clearing in the jungle, there was a huge tusker standing. He went, stood in front of him and asked, who is the king of the jungle? The tusker took his trunk, rolled him up, picked him up, twirled him around, smashed him to the ground. His back broke. Then the lion said, you could have just told me. But the tusker said, you see, I had to make my point. So, a lot of people generally are thinking management means just throwing their weight around. Throwing your weight around is not management, any fool can do that. If you manage a situation, not just things happening there, people should feel elevated, just being in that space. Otherwise, it is not management. Above all, if you go to your place and you manage a situation, you must feel wonderful being there. If that doesn't happen, you are not a good manager. So if this has to happen, you need an inner dimension. When I say inner dimension, what is inner dimension? When I say inner, I'm not just talking about the body or the mind, because both this body and mind you gathered from outside in certain ways, isn't it? For example, this physical body, when you were a child, this body was only this much. Now it's become this much. How did this happen? How did this happen? That's a question. How did this happen? You grew up, how did it happen, I'm asking? I'm sorry? How did it happen? How did all this body happen? Food that you ate, isn't it? What you call as my body is actually a heap of food that you gathered. What you call as food is just a piece of earth that you convert it into food and make it into body, isn't it? So this body is just a heap of food that you gathered over a period of time. What you call as my mind is a heap of impressions that you gathered from outside. Now you have a heap of food and a heap of impressions. If this much gathering has to happen, something more than this must exist, isn't it? If you are capable of gathering such a large body and so much mind, there must be something more fundamental than this. But that never comes into your experience. You're just lost in these two heaps, trying to make some sense out of it. Now, as there is a science, as there is a management science for external well-being, there is a management for science for inner well-being. It is just that most of the time we have not approached it scientifically, we're just believing by doing something somehow everything will be okay. Right now, people are thinking by educating themselves they will live happily ever after, which you will discover after some time it's not so. By getting a job, they think they're going to be happy ever after, which you will discover it is not so. By making money, you think you're going to be happy ever after, you will discover it is not so. Somebody thinks by getting married they're going to be ever after, and they know it is not so. So, you're trying to somehow fool yourself into believing that by doing something everything will be okay. Though repeatedly it has let you down, still you believe that something else, some other miracle will make everything okay. It'll not be okay. It once happened. On a certain day, a bull and a pheasant were grazing on the field. You know a bull? A pheasant, a bird. The bull was grazing on the grass, the pheasant was picking ticks off the bull, they're partners, Then the pheasant looked at a huge tree which was at the edge of the field and very nostalgically said, "Alas, there was a time when I could fly to the topmost branch of the tree, but today I do not have the strength even to fly to the first branch of the tree." The bull very nonchalantly said, "That's no problem. Eat a little bit of my dung every day. You will see, within a fortnight's time you will reach the top of the tree." The pheasant said, "Oh, come off it. How is that possible?" The bull said, "Really, please try and see. The whole humanity is on it. You could try too." Very hesitantly, the pheasant started pecking at the dung, and lo, on the very first day it reached the first branch of the tree. In a fortnight's time, it reached the topmost branch of the tree. It just went and sat on the topmost branch and just looking at the scenery, enjoying it. The old farmer saw a fat old pheasant on the top of the tree. He took out his shotgun and shot him off the tree. So the moral of the story is, even bullshit can get you to the top, but never lets you stay there. So, if you are seeking a life of fulfillment, if you are seeking a life of joy and peace and well-being within yourself, don't try to bull yourself in some way. You must do the right thing, otherwise it won't work. Now that you're managers or to be managers, probably, definitely, I hope they have taught you that unless you do the right thing, it doesn't work with outside. The same goes with the inside. Unless you do the right thing, it just doesn't work. You may just bull yourself to believe that this will make me all right, that will make me all right. Yes, for a moment, but the next moment you crash. Please see, successful people, unsuccessful people, just look at their lives and see in 24 hours, how many moments are they really joyful? How many? You go on the street and see how many joyful faces do you see on the street? Very, very few, isn't it so? Yes? If you see any, usually they are young faces. Over 30 faces are all long faces. What's happened to them? For most of them, their lives have worked out far better than they ever imagined. If you look at yourself as a generation, never before another generation of people have been this comfortable and this well physically as you are right now, isn't it? Isn't it so? We are the most comfortable generation. No other generation has known these kind of comforts and conveniences. But still, are we any happier than what people were? This is simply because we did not do inner management. We just did external management, no inner management. In the process of creating what we want, the very source of our life, this planet, we're just destroying, isn't it? In pursuit of our happiness, we are just making a bonfire out of this planet, but still we are not satisfied, nor are we any more joyful than what we were 500 years ago as people were, isn't it? So somewhere, we have neglected the interiority. So to turn inward, what is needed? One reason why most young people here have never made any effort to turn inward is because today, any thinking person, the moment he can read ABC, speak English and he has extra alphabets next to his name, he develops an allergy towards anything spiritual. This is not your fault. These so-called spiritual people have made such jokers out of themselves. They have presented spirituality in such terrible ways, ridiculous ways, that anybody who has any sense doesn't want to go anywhere near it. See, a spirituality means to know something which is beyond the physical. Right now, if you exist as a physical entity, as a body, as a mind, Because both these things are accumulations from outside, whatever happens outside will happen inside. If what happens outside begins to happen within you all the time, then you being peaceful and happy is always accidental. Because it doesn't matter who you are, how powerful you are, how great a manager you are, external situations will never be 100% in your control. That's the nature of the life. Even if you're just two people in the family, still you don't have absolute control over the situation, isn't it so? As the scope and play of your life increases, you have less and less control over the situations in which you live. That's the reality of life. So if whatever is happening outside is happening within you, you being peaceful and happy in your life is a faraway thing, it's never going to happen. Only when a person begins to experience a dimension beyond the physical within himself, then he can play with the physical world whichever way he wants. He can do the best that he can do with the outside world, but the interiority is undisturbed, always the way you want it. The outside world will not happen the way we want it 100%. At least the inner world should happen the way we want it, isn't it so? Isn't it so? The outside will never happen 100% the way we want it. That's the reality of life. But at least this one should happen the way we want it. If this is also not happening the way you want it, if your body, if your mind, if your emotions, if your energies are not functioning the way you want it, then this is the worst kind of slavery, because somebody else decides what should happen within you. If somebody else decides what should happen around you, that itself you call it slavery, isn't it so? Yes? Are we in talking terms or no? Okay, that's fine. If somebody decides what should happen around you, that itself you call as slavery. But if someone decides what should happen within you, is it not a more horrible way of being a slave? But please see, the whole world is in it. The only consolation is everybody is like this. Now that you're learning management as a science, I would like you to understand there is a whole science of inner management. If you don't learn that, you may manage businesses, you may manage industry, but still you will not live a life of fulfillment and well-being. If you want to live a life of fulfillment and well-being and offer the same to people around you, it's extremely important you know what it means to manage your interiority. I really don't know how you feel today going out of probably the last step of your education, or at least one step of your education, a major step of your education. Because when I studied in the university, I did not go to my convocation. Somewhere, right from my childhood… Are you okay for a story? Right from my childhood, the education that I received, though they sent me to the best possible schools around, it didn't mean anything to me, because my sense of listening and looking at people was such. When the teachers were talking whatever, chemistry, biology or mathematics, one thing I could clearly see was whatever they were saying didn't mean a damn thing to them. And I was not willing to listen to anything from somebody who is talking something which doesn't mean anything to him. So, I always looked at the teacher. If he put his heart into it, I'm willing to be there, otherwise I'm out. because somewhere I have so many things on my agenda for the day. 24 hours are packed with too many things. I am not willing to spend an hour or even 5 minutes listening to someone who is talking something which doesn't mean anything to him. Even if he's talking nonsense, it doesn't matter. If it means something to him, I'm willing to listen to it. But if he's talking great things which don't mean anything to him, I am not willing to listen to him. So as a part of this, I spent… Your education is over, so I can talk. I spent almost 90% of my college hours outside, only 10% inside. Only when I saw somebody who is talking something with passion, I'm there. Otherwise, I'm just out. Now, this education, I'm repeatedly telling Dr. Majumdar and a few other people around here, I'm happy to see somebody's talking with some passion about what they're doing. Somebody, it doesn't matter what they're doing is right, wrong, okay, perfect or not, but someone has put his heart into it. It's okay, because human lives becomes beautiful not because we do the right things. Human lives become beautiful because we put our heart into what we're doing. It doesn't matter what we're doing, whether we're sweeping the floor or managing the country or what we're doing. If we are putting our heart into what we're doing, it's beautiful to be doing that activity. So I think it's a fortune that I've just seen a few people. I hope everybody here is putting their hearts into what they're doing and living in an atmosphere where people are passionate about what they're doing itself is highly enriching. Now that you're stepping into the world, not that you don't know, but anyway, now you're stepping into the world in a different dimension than the way you have been till now. Once you step into the world, there's going to be a lot of filth. There is corruption, there is nonsense, there is so many things happening everywhere. There are some set of people, a certain set of people who will develop an allergy for this filth. They can't stand it. They usually run to the Himalayas because they're allergic to filth, they can't take it. They want everything pure. But such a thing will not happen because the filth of the world has one way or the other has entered our minds. Whether we empower that filth or not is all the option that we have. But we cannot avoid filth, it is there. All the nonsense that can happen in the world, you know in your head, isn't it? So one set of people develop allergy and try to run away, which they can never do, really. Another set of people, a large segment of people, unfortunately, have come to their own kind of philosophies. Anyway, world is full of filth, let me also become filth. So they have joined that, they have merged into the filth. What we call as filth can also be great manure, Indian spirituality has always used lotus as a symbolism. A lotus flower has always been the main symbolism for Indian spirituality. Why a lotus flower is? A lotus flower grows best where the filth is thick. This filth which is stinking, which you can't bear, has transformed itself into a fragrant, beautiful flower. This option also is with us every moment of our life. If the atmospheres that we live in make us… we cannot call ourselves managers. If we make the atmospheres that we live in, only then we can call ourselves managers. Being a manager means that we are going to create whatever we see as the most beautiful thing to happen right now. Allowing situations to create you is not management at all. Creating the situations that we want is management. As many of them have said many things, this process of education, there is a certain acceleration now that education is over, you're stepping into a new dimension of life, the excitement, and it's always beautiful to step into something new that you believe is going to be wonderful. But what we have seen with life with most people is, now let's say somebody got a job, the first day when they went and sat behind this table was the most fantastic place in the world. But within a few years, behind the same table, they're manufacturing blood pressure, diabetes, ulcers and whatnot. This is not because there is something wrong with the jobs that we do. This is not because there is something wrong with the world that we live in. It is simply because we have not paid sufficient attention to ourselves. We have paid too much attention to what is outside. To succeed in the world, people are always thinking, great aspirations will make you successful. Aspiration is just an initial starting point. Just because you aspire for success, just because you aspire for prosperity, just because you aspire for well-being, it doesn't happen. Success, prosperity, well-being happens because you have made yourself capable of creating those things. Everybody aspires. Who is not aspiring for success in the world? Everybody is aspiring. Even a beggar on the street is trying to be a successful beggar, isn't it so? Every human being is aspiring for it, but only those who have made themselves capable will succeed. Making yourself capable not only in terms of management skills and other things, but that is needed too, but making yourself capable as a human being to go through situations untouched, to be like a lotus flower, even if you're in the filthiest of situations, to maintain your beauty and fragrance. If one has this, he will float through this life untouched. If one doesn't have it, life will eat him up in so many ways. It's my wish and my blessing that this new set of managers will manage this world, this country, this community, and the business and commerce, which is part of our existence today in the world, in a much better way than the previous generations of people have done, because externally we are better equipped than ever before. If we make a little effort, it's a fortune that an institution has made an effort to equip you internally to whatever extent it was possible for them. If you equip yourself for internal management also, I'm sure that this group of people and many more who will pass out of this institution should definitely manage this world, this nation and the communities much, much better than the way it's been done till now. When it comes to management, there's no such thing as perfect management. It is just that if people give themselves absolutely to what they're doing, things will happen. Right now, the Isha Foundation, Dr. Karthikeyan, after seeing what's happening there, that's how he's been into this. It is run by all young people, the whole foundation. We have hundreds of centers in India and outside the country. Everything is managed by very young people. People who have been with us for 14, 15 years, they are just in their early 30s now. Very, very young people. No senior people, no experienced people, just young people, raw hands. I took this as a challenge to make it happen through them, not using any kind of experience. I'm not against experience, I'm not against that, but I wanted to make a statement that incredible things can be done, not because we know how to do it. Incredible things can be done simply because we are committed that we want it to happen, that's all. Today, this has grown into a voluntary organization with over 200,000 active volunteers around the world. And we have taken enormous projects of social significance. All these things are handled by volunteers. They're not paid for it, they spend from their own pockets and do things. And you need to understand, managing these people, managing volunteers is much more difficult than managing paid employees, because you can't fire them. You can never fire them for inefficiency or indiscipline or whatever, because they're there on a voluntary basis. So, people who manage these situations, very young people without any qualifications, they are such fantastic managers of people. The way they manage the situations, the way they conduct thousands of people has set such a exemplary example in the community there. I would take this opportunity someday that when it's possible you visit Isha Yoga Center as to how things are managed, so simply, because management doesn't come… I know you need to learn about finance, this, that, banking and those kind of things, but fundamentally management is your ability to be capable of inspiring people to do their best. And that's all we can do. If everybody around us are doing their best, that's the best possible management that can happen. So this is not going to come with manipulation, this is only going to come with dedication, this is only going to come with love, this is only going to come because you are willing to give yourself 100% to the person who is next to you at that moment. Oh, is all this possible? Is it not all utopian? You think this is the reality in the corporate sector? I'm telling you, we are working in the prisons, we are working in rural areas, we are working with major corporations in the world. It doesn't matter what kind of person you meet. If you just learn to touch the core of his humanity, then you see every human being is willing to do his best for you, always. If you just learn how to touch the very core of a human being who is around you right now, you will see everybody is willing to lay their lives down for you. Only if people around you love you and they want to do the best for you, you will not get ulcers doing management. If people around you are trying to pull you down, you will anyway get ulcers trying to manage situations. Isn't it so? If you do not create the people who truly love us and wanting to give their best, then management is going to be a pain. Management is going to be a huge suffering. Only when people around us really want to do the best for you, only then management can happen wonderfully. It's my wish and my blessing that all of you turn out as truly great managers of yourself and the world around you. Our lives become beautiful not because of what we do. Our lives becomes beautiful simply because we have included everybody around us as a part of our dream of well-being. I hope all of you become truly successful and well. In whatever way, with inner technologies, if you need any help, we are always available to you. It's been a joy to be here in this institution. I've been to any number of colleges, people are the same, but creating an institution with some sense of commitment for inner well-being in today's world is… I'm too happy. Thank you.
This happened in your school, maybe later in your university, later in your work. It's happening to people, maybe not everyone, but to a whole lot of people. Their commitment to success is weak. They want to succeed, they will take 3 steps, then something little interesting happens here, they will go away here, they'll go away there, they'll go away there. Hey, I want to live, huh? their commitment to success is weak. Either situations around them in some way, situations can impede you from doing what you're doing very easily. Many times it happens to everyone. But when this happens, people weaken their commitment for their success. Maybe physically, they'll feel a little weak, they will weaken their commitment to success. Maybe their emotions slosh around a little bit, they will weaken their commitment to success. This is very important right now. However long it takes, this virus, you must come out of this successfully. That means you must stay alive, that's an important part. And commitment to staying alive should not be slackened, no matter what happened. Somebody very dear to us passed away, all the more important we must live. People around us are all sick, all the more important we are healthy to take care of the people around us. So our commitment to success should not weaken because there is social drama going on, or physiological drama or psychological drama, whatever happens, your commitment to success should not weaken. That is what gets you across so many lines in our life, so many barriers in our life. So, what does success look like? What does it take? You must understand, those who made any significant achievements in their life, they did not, I don't want to take any personal examples of anybody, I'm trying to avoid obvious things that are coming to my mind. Well, I know family and friends who always have their breakfast on time. And after breakfast, of course, they must have coffee. After coffee, of course, they must light up a cigarette and sit there nicely because they're trying to become peaceful. And then they will go to work, come back home exactly on time for lunch, eat lunch, rest for 1 or 2 hours, sleep, then evening have one tea and then smoke, and then again go to work. And 8 o'clock, 8:30, they're back home for dinner and then maybe other things, drink and this and that and whatever. Well, that's their priority. It's fine, I'm not complaining, it should not be that way. But those who have been very successful, either in music, sport, art, business, spiritual process, doesn't matter what, those people never know when they ate, when they slept, when they got afternoon rest. I have not seen such a thing in my life. So, those who are committed to being successful with whatever they're doing, one important aspect of their life is they're not settling down wherever it's a bit comfortable. Because comfort will happen when they lower you to in the grave, very comfortable you are, Have you seen how comfortable they are? Once they're dead, if you throw them there also they're comfortable, if you lower them they're comfortable, even if you burn them. Right? Yes or no? Comfort will come. Right now, it's about ensuring that there is profoundness of experience and there is impactfulness of activity. Because if they had given you a limitless amount of time, you could do all those things, nothing wrong, I'm not against them. But they gave you such little time with such tremendous potential of being human, that's the problem. If creation had made you like an earthworm, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with an earthworm, it is just that it's a unipolar potential, it can only do that much. An earthworm is not thinking of climbing a tree because it knows it'll be picked up by the birds, it never has such aspirations. It just wants to recycle the earth. You know, it is beneficial to so many other lives, including us, but its objective is very clear, to eat and to reproduce and to die. Very clear objectives. That purpose to fulfill, he strives. I don't think he sleeps in the afternoon. I don't think so, because many afternoons I've seen earthworms, they were all vigorously active. But a human being came with too many potentials. Because of that, it needs a certain level of striving for a human being to forget about the world, to consider yourself successful. If your idea of success is you're doing little better than your neighbor, I call that sickness, that is not success. You're happy that your neighbor is worse than you. Is this sickness or success? It is sickness. But in some way you feel fulfilled with what you're doing, let's consider that as success for now. It doesn't matter whether you're better than somebody or worse than somebody, that question should not even come up in your mind. But in some way you feel you're using yourself fully and there's a certain sense of fulfillment in your activity. Well, if you're capable of just closing your eyes and simply sitting without any activity, that's fantastic. But you cannot do that. You cannot do that right now in the states that you are. You can't simply close your eyes and become still. Instead of being busy, you will become preoccupied. That doesn't mean you're improving, that means you're regressing in some way. The problem about this success is people always making judgments, I did this, I did that, maybe this didn't work, maybe this is a mistake, that's a mistake. There's no such thing in life. See, at one time you were a monkey, all right? This is not me, this is that Englishman, you know? Charles Darwin said, you were all monkeys. At one time you were a monkey, just a brief while ago. Was it a mistake that you committed, that you were a monkey? Or was it just a certain stage of evolution? Was it a mistake or was it just a certain stage of evolution? Similarly, since you were born, because as a human being you're born largely unformed, unlike other creatures. Other creatures, if their food is taken care of, they know what to do with their life. Because human being has come with such open sense of possibilities, you come unformed, you don't come fixed. You have to fix yourself. Different people throw different types of balls at you. From all over, your parents, your teachers, the school, the neighbors and the society and the world throws all kinds of things at you. To gather all this muck and make something worthwhile out of yourself is your business. That's your success. It doesn't matter whether somebody thinks you're worthwhile or not, you feel you're a worthwhile life. Good enough for now. World may not recognize, it doesn't matter, but you know you're worthwhile.
Success and failure is not in the volumes of money flowing into your life. Success and failure is not dependent upon the recognition that you're finding in the world. You're successful with life if you know how to walk with joy. through hell. Meltdown is not hell, don't… I know there is a certain amount of global warming involved, but it's not as hot as hell, not yet. It's not bad at all, it's very good. I'm sure you can do with less food, smaller house, smaller car, or walking is great, you know. Walking is very good for health, do you know? Some man who just became 100 years old in Coimbatore city, I have not met the man, I read in the newspaper just a month ago, his 100th birthday. They asked him, what is the source of your health and well-being, because he's still strong and good? He said, I am a walk king, you know. He put a hyphen in walking and said, I am a walk king. Because every day I walk, 100, I'm still walking. So your failure could be extremely good for your well-being. Don't be against your own well-being, you know. Satumao Ganji and walking, sure recipe for health. There is no such thing as failure. Failure is an idea, because success is also a stupid idea. It's your idea, what is success and what is failure, isn't it? Instead of trying to change the world, change your idea. Isn't it easier? If you just change your idea of success and failure, everything is great, isn't it? If you were a beggar on the street, today, if you could walk into the restaurant, eat a masala dosa and pay 10 rupees bill, this would be the height, the peak of your success. Isn't it so? So, you've gotten trapped in social situations and it is not even your idea. Why am I crediting you with this? It is somebody's idea of what is success, isn't it? Don't become a slave to somebody's idea. At least have your own idea. You have no idea of your own. Don't deceive yourself. Every idea, every thought, every emotion, every value that you have is picked up from somewhere and it rules you from within. It rules you from within. Your religion, your society, your culture has trained you to believe that this is it. So the first and foremost success is that you are not a slave to anybody's idea. This is success. Whatever the situation of life, you're alive means you're successful, isn't it? No? Let me see it if you're successful. This is success, you're alive. You don't know the value of life. You're crying about the share market. You do not know the value of life. Because the damn graph is going up and down, you want to die? No, but I lost so much money. There is no such thing. These are all social things, these are not existential things. We created the society for our well-being, not to take our lives. Yes? You created your family, your social structure and every other damn thing for your well-being, not to take your life, isn't it? Now every damn thing can take your life. Don't make things that you create, things that human beings create, larger than your life. That is the basis of your suffering.
I just want to know how one would be able to identify their own potential or talent, and what to focus on.
Currently, in this society, especially in India, I think, all over India, but I think particularly in South India, right from your childhood, the parent situation in most homes, there are exceptions, but in most homes, the parent situation and the social situation is such. They're constantly making the child think in terms of what kind of activity would make them survive best, what kind of activity would get them a good job, what kind of activity would get them good money. They're only thinking on these terms. When you orient a child like this, right from his early age, then whatever innate talents he has, maybe there is a Picasso in your house, but now you make him into a doctor, you know, he'll only smear blood on people. Simply because right from his childhood he was never allowed to think beyond survival. If you're really interested, if you have children, it's very important, just allowing them to develop. Don't be in a hurry that they must find a job, do something. See, it's not necessary, everybody by the time they're 25, they must have a job and they must be going, they must be married, they must have children. It is not necessary. Different people will mature at different times. If they find their jobs at the right time, if necessary, if they marry at the right time, or go beyond it, whichever way, according to their natural tendencies, they would definitely evolve into more complete human beings. You may become an engineer or a doctor or whatever, but a very disturbed human being, not finding expression for anything within yourself. No, maybe you would have made a good carpenter, but now you're a doctor. You can imagine our plight. And nothing wrong in being a good carpenter. You can become a great carpenter, isn't it? But such a thing is not there at all. You must become a doctor. If you cannot, you must become an engineer. Now, of course, software. This is how they're going, isn't it? They try for medical college, don't get engineering college. Where is the connection? If you don't get a medical college seat, Ayurvedic college, veterinary medicine, or at least become a witch doctor. But you don't become a doctor, you jump into engineering, where is the sense? That means you're only interested in proving something to somebody, you're not interested in making your life beautiful, isn't it?
What is the best paid job? If they
That's what I'm saying,
shift it to
survival,
something else.
just survival. See, every human being has necessary intelligence and strength to survive in the world. Maybe not like somebody else, but in his own way. But if he is doing something that he cares for, if he is creating something that for which he has a natural liking, then whether he does it on this scale or that scale, he will still be happy. Yes? Now you're doing something for which you have no natural tendency simply because socially you're oriented that way. Now there is a sense of frustration about the jobs that you're doing. You continue, of course, because you invested 5 years, 10 years in education, so you can't go back. You keep pushing yourself, isn't it? It is unnecessary to orient the society like this. Now, every 10 years, the society is shifting its idea of what is the best education. Now there are too many doctors, nobody wants them anywhere. Yes? Now people are thinking something else. They thought software, half the people were sent back from other countries. Now they're desperately looking what's the way. I know survival is important. With the kind of overpopulation and competition we have, survival is important. But still giving at least 50% of your life open, seeing what you could do, is a good thing to do for children because they live more complete lives. I know many people may not have the means to do it, there are many difficulties, it's not as easy as it is said, all those problems are there. But still, it's worthwhile to make an effort to create a next generation which is little more harmonious within themselves, isn't it? Whatever the effort it takes, still worthwhile, isn't it?
Your dreams, goals and desire, aspirations, it's good that you spend a little more time on it and see, will this really mean something to you even after 25 years, 50 years? If you're in your deathbed, will it still mean something to you? You must look at it. Whatever you're aspiring for, whatever you're dreaming of, whatever goals you have set, will it really mean something? Because most of these goals are traps. They're just traps. You get in, it's only one-way street, you can't turn back. I want you to look at this, because many of them are older than you. You ask them what they dreamed of at 18, they're fortunate it didn't come true. Yes or no? If everything that you desired and dreamed came true in your life, could you live with it? Fortunately, many of those things got filtered and never came true, isn't it? So, it will be very good if anybody of your age, if they want to decide and fix the goals of their life, it'll be very good if they take a break from all influence that's around them. Social influences, family influences, other influences, withdraw somewhere, that's why an ashram. Withdraw somewhere, sit down, meditate, bring yourself to a certain level of clarity and joy. When you're very happy and clear, you must decide. Not in desperation you set goals. Desperate goals that you set will mean a lot to you at that moment. Tomorrow morning you look, you don't know why you're tangled up with it. So, it'll be good. If you're fixing your life, it's best that you do it when you're very, very peaceful, happy and clear-headed, isn't it? Not influenced by anything around you, simply by yourself. Sit and decide what is it that you really want to become in your life. What is it that will be of enduring value for you, not for somebody else, for you. And you don't have to build a personality for that, you strive for that. The necessary persona will come. You must understand what a personality is. The word personality comes from the word persona. Persona means in Greek or in Latin, I'm sorry, is a mask. This is a mask that they used to use in old theaters. Now, the same people will be playing many roles. Let's say Ramayana is happening. You have to play Rama's role also and Sita's role also and Lakshman's role also. For everything there's one mask. You hold this mask and speak like Rama, keep it down. Hold this mask and speak like Sita, keep it down. Hold this and speak like Hanuman and keep it down. This is how the plays were done. So it is those masks which were referred to as persona. So personality means you held a mask and mask got stuck to your face. You couldn't pull it out. That means you have a personality. Personality is something that people are trying to develop because they have no sense of being.
Instead of the real thing, you're trying to concretize the fake thing. If you are in touch with your being, why do you want a personality? It's not necessary. You can be a different kind of personality in different places. You are actually already. Or are you stuck with one personality? Some people are. People who are simplistic in their head have only one personality. Others have different personalities in different areas of life, isn't it? If you had seen me before, like 1999, that is before the consecration of Dhyanalinga, I was a completely different kind of person, okay? To such an extent, everything about me was so different. Well before that things happened that was beyond me, but this was conscious. At that time I was single-minded towards a certain purpose, I was in a certain way. So after… I never thought I will live beyond that, but somehow things happened. Then I thought, okay, now that the work is over, let me change my personality completely. To fulfill that, I had acquired a certain kind of personality. And now that it's over, I thought, let me change it. And I told people around me, see, I'm going to change my personality. Don't be shocked, I'm still the same guy. They said, no problem, this. I said, just hang on, because things will change. Everything about me will change, the way I operate will change, the way I speak will change, the way I dress will change, the way I do, everything will change. They said, no problem, we know you, we love you with this. I said, that's okay, hang on tight, because when things change, people fall off. Lot of people fell off because they couldn't believe. Where is that person that they knew? That person just evaporated, you know This is a new person, they can't identify with this new person. I told them and changed. In spite of that, they fell off, so many of them. So many of them who were very dear to me and very close to me, they fell away because I changed so dramatically. And I told them I'm going to change because one phase of work is over, now it's time to change my personality. The way I look, the way I dress, the way I speak, the very way I am, everything about me. I even changed what food I like. I changed my personality, so I thought I'll change my food also. So personality is something that you have taken on, but you have become so unconscious about it that you think it's for real. You're asking how to develop, that means you're making it up, right? Another word for developing is making up, isn't it? You're making it up. Make it up whichever way is suitable for your kind of activity, but you must be able to keep it down. If it gets stuck to your face, then it becomes misery. Then all suffering will come to you. You can take on any kind of personality, but when you want to keep it down, you must be able to keep it down. There was a sage. He was so wise. People went to him and crowds gathered. Then the king went to him and the king saw such a wise man should be in his court. So he told the sage, you must come and become my chief minister, because a wise man like you shouldn't go away sitting under a tree. You must be useful for the people. The sage said, see, that's fine, but I have a condition. You must give me a room in your palace where I will spend every day 1 hour. You should never peep into that room, you should never ask me what it's about, you should never break into it, nothing. This room should be left unexplored by yourself, your servants, your secret agents and everybody. The king thought, that's not a problem. What's the problem with me? You want your room, why do I want to look into your room? Take it. Then whenever any important meeting is to come, this man who's sage, now who's become a
minister, so he's wearing appropriate clothes for the palace. But he goes in to this room and locks himself for 1 hour and comes out. A few months and years passed, but then after that, king's curiosity, it even got us to Mars. He wants to know what the hell is he doing inside. So rumor started all around, oh, he's doing something, he's got somebody inside, maybe he's an enemy agent, he suddenly landed here, what is he doing there, what is he doing there? Everybody, the whole palace started buzzing around with what is he doing in this room. Everybody wants to see what's in the room, but it's always locked. He goes in, spends time there and comes out. Especially when something important is to be done, he goes in. All kinds of rumors happened. So, one day, king couldn't hold it. King asked this man, I want to see what's in that room. He said, well, there's a promise you've given me. If you break the promise, I will leave. So he contained it. He doesn't want to lose the man. He's too wise. And then his other courtiers started talking, how can you allow this? We don't know what's happening inside, it could be dangerous, it could be this, it could be that. One day when he was not there, they broke open the door and went inside. They looked around, the room is empty, no furniture, no nothing, just empty room. They looked, nothing. Then what does he do here? Then in one corner they saw very, worn out clothing hanging there and a begging bowl. They went. They couldn't make out what this is. Then he came in. He said, well, you wanted to see, you have seen. The king asked, what do you do here? He said, whenever I want to make any important decision, I come here, wear my worn-out clothes and sit with a begging bowl, clearly, that I don't want to be caught up with all the things of the palace. I want my wisdom not to be lost in these clothes and in this jewelry and in this stuff. So I come here, wear those clothes, sit with my begging bowl, make the decisions and then come out. Now you've broken the promise, and he left. So, this is what meditation is for you. Every day when you sit, you strip yourself down. You don't have to do anything about it. If you sit there simply, see, anything that's made up needs constant support from you, isn't it? See, suppose you tell a lie. It needs constant support to keep it up, isn't it? But if something is true, you can even forget it, but it's still there, isn't it? You understand what I'm saying? If something is true, even if you forget it, it's still there, no problem. But if it's a lie, you have to keep it up. Your personality is a lie. Your being, your existence is the truth. You don't have to keep this up. This will be anywhere there. What you make up for the sake of the society, to function in the society, you need a certain kind of makeup. You must be able to keep it down. If you're going to bed fully made up, then something wrong with you.
The question is, how can we translate Gita, the philosophy of Krishna, into augmenting business in India?
I have not read the Gita, so I really have not. I'm sorry, because for me, my own vision has never failed me.
So I always kept away from all scriptures because I didn't want to clutter myself with something or the other. The only thing that I learned and I continue to do is, if I look at something, if I look at a person, I know their past, present and future. That is the level of attention I'm paying to them. I don't look at like this. When I look at it completely, with all that I have. If you pay enough attention, there is nothing that will not yield. So I never had any reason or need to go looking for scriptures or something. With all respect and regard for them, it is not that I'm averse to it, it's just that I've not had the time. How this whole process started is, when I was very young, I realized that I just don't know anything. See, if you realize that you do not know, if it's a full-scale realization that you do not know anything, paying attention will be natural. Because you know everything. You know this guy, you know this. There are assumptions and assumptions and assumptions. Well, I've used it in a different way. But even if you're doing business, even if it's for business purposes, the only reason why one human being seems to be… all the opportunities seems to be going in his direction and not other people is simply because he's able to see and other people are not able to see. It's not that it's not there for others. One is able to see and others are not able to see. So essentially, a leader means that you're able to see something that others are not able to see. So, attention without intention, simply being attentive, that's what we were trying to do in the afternoon. Not paying attention to something, just practicing attention, a very heightened level of attention where an unfocused attention, but when you focus it on something, just about anything has to yield, there is no other way to that attention. So, I always focused on enhancing and sharpening my attention, never on retention because what you gather is not you. Essentially, you know that you exist only because you have some sense of attention right now, isn't it? Suppose you fall asleep and you lose your attention, you do not even know that you exist. So the basis of your existence itself is attention. And this attention need not be mortgaged to anything. You just have to sharpen the attention. See, if you have a knife in your hands, there is no such thing that you have to cut only apples with this. If you have a sharp enough knife, you could cut anything that you want. But the important thing is the knife is sharp enough, so that your attention is keen enough, not for something or the other. If your attention has become very keen, if you wish to do a certain type of activity, you can successfully do it. I think I must say something about my own enterprises at one time. My enterprise started when I was 8 years of age. Because of a strange kind of pride in me, I never ever took a single rupee as a pocket money from my parents. I started making money when I was 6, 7 years of age. By 8, I was quite an accomplished entrepreneur. Simple things. Even today I'm known in Mysore because I caught snakes in everybody's houses. If I caught a snake, they gave me 25 rupees. In 1960s, 25 rupees is $1 million for a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid. I was just on top of the world. So, there is a Food Research Institute, CFTRI. Every Saturday afternoon I went there, I caught 4 or 5 snakes. They measured it. I have to show it to you like this. If it's over 3 feet, I get 50 rupees. Less than 3 feet, I get 25 rupees. On an afternoon, I would make 100, 150 rupees. I don't know if you can imagine, 150 rupees for an 8, 10-year-old kid. in 1960s or 70s was like $1 million today. It was big. And I went to so many things, just about anything that came my way. I should tell you a little enterprise that I did which grew into a big business. After my university, where I learned nothing, but I passed. The only thing was, by then I had crisscrossed India on my motorcycle, and I suddenly realized when I went to the borders of India, they asked me for something other than my driving license. I did not even know that there was a passport. See, it's not like today. Today every child, maybe 3-year-old, 4-year-old kid knows he has to have a passport. I'm in my 20s, but I do not know that I need a passport. I went to the border and then they said, "Where is your passport?" I said, "What? I have a driving license." They said, "No, you need a passport." Then I turned back from Nepal border and came back on my motorcycle. So my only dream was, I'm going to just ride across the world. So I wanted to do something, I started kind of farming, commercial farming. I was making money. I thought I will do for 2 years and leave. But in the meantime, my entrepreneurship took off in so many different ways. Like this I went about. And then there was an industry coming up close by, they wanted to build a water treatment plant. I happened to know the person who was running the industry. I just went there and I wanted to meet him. I was sitting in his office, they were discussing something about a water treatment plant. I just heard this and they were looking at the drawings and stuff. Then I asked him, "Can I apply? Can I do this? Because it is close to my farm, can I do this?" He said, "No, this is very complex, there are some experts from Mumbai and Bangalore who will come and do it, you cannot do it." I said, "Give me a chance, let me see." I took the file from him. I went and read through everything. Then I went back to him after 3 days and said, "I can do this." He said, "Don't you do this, you're my friend. I don't want to do this." "No, just let me give the tender." So those days, there was something called as Navakarnataka bookstalls. They were selling only the Russian books. You used to get big literature books, you can get Lev Tolstoy's War and Peace for 2 rupees and engineering books for 1 rupee, 2 rupees, all hardbound books. I bought 10 books about water treatment plant, sat down in my farm and poured through this day and night. I made my own new design. I went there and I gave a tender for 1.76 lakhs. Mind you, this is 70s. And the closest tender was 32 lakhs. The highest tender was over 60 lakhs. He looked at this and said, "You are funny. You're not going to do this." I said, "No, I can do it." He said, "No way you can do it. Look at this, the nearest tender is 32 lakhs and you're saying 1.76 lakhs. How will you do it?" I said, "Give me 1 more day." I went back again and poured through the books. I said, "I'll do it." Then he said, "It's 90 days, you must finish this and it must work. If it doesn't work, at your own cost, you must remove it, clean the site and go, and I will not give you a rupee of advance." I again went and poured through the books. I said, "I can do it." I completed this in a little over 70 days. I did this in 90,000+ rupees. In one shot, I made 80,000 rupees, just like that. People thought this is a hit. There my construction industry started. Raja Ramanna was coming for RMP plant. He's just coming in a helicopter to see where the site is. There is no anybody there. I just went and met this engineer, he said he was breaking his head, "I don't know what to do, I have to mark the site." I said, "I've got pegs and white cloth. I will just go and mark the site for you." I marked it, they paid me 38,000 rupees for a 15-minute job. I went on my motorcycle and just fixed it myself. Like this my enterprise started and we grew into a major construction company. We were going very big, but then I got enlightened, so I gave up.
Thank you Sadhguru for sharing that story. Thank you, Professor. We kind of absolutely run out of time, otherwise we could have continued for another half an hour at least. Thank you for being an attentive audience.
Most of the things
apart from the spiritual process that I did, I never went through any training. I simply went and did it like I know it. And it always worked. To say things that people believe you cannot do. You know, there was a time when I was always on 2 wheels. 4 wheels, I looked at it with great disdain. I would never get into a car. Even if somebody asked me to come in their car, I say, no, tell me where, I'll come on my motorcycle. Because getting into a 4-wheeled vehicle was considered, I will do it when I'm on 85. So, it was just beyond me, I could not get into a car. I said, I'm not going to get into a car. So once it happened that we were driving to a wildlife sanctuary and I was on my motorcycle and this girl was driving this car with another 4 people. And none of those 4 people could drive and this girl got very sick and she got terrified because it's a wildlife sanctuary, she cannot drive. Then they don't know what to do. She says, I can't drive, I'm so too tired, I'm not feeling comfortable with all this forest, I cannot drive. And then I said, there was no other way, otherwise we have to wait and turn back. Then I said, okay, and I parked my motorcycle. I said, okay, I'll drive. I had never driven a car till that point. But right from my childhood, whether it's a bus or a car or whatever anybody is driving, I paid attention as to how it happens. I just sat down and drove 90 kilometers on a narrow track, narrow tarmac track from, to Nagarhole, which was a very narrow track at that time. I drove all the way and I parked the car there. Then I said, this is the first time I drove and never drove. And it's not as bad as I thought. I thought driving a car is for cripples. I thought motorcycle is the real thing. Car is for crippled people. It's like for handicapped people who cannot balance on 2 wheels. I said, it's not so bad. And they said, what, you never driven? I said, no, this is the first time I drove. How can you drive? Why can't I drive? I've seen people driving. Almost everything I've done is like this. I've never been to any training of any kind. It just takes a little attention. Every human being can do this, but they have a backlog in their head. They're carrying so many things of how it cannot happen.
If you're not paying attention to what I'm saying, would you know what I'm talking? No. That's so with every aspect of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention to it, you don't know what you're eating, you don't know what you're breathing, you don't know what's happening. Most people will not notice the fragrance of the flowers or anything, they're just walking through like rocks. Or let me say a bull because they want to, a bull is worshipped in the stock market. So, it's an evolutionary fallback. If you walk like a bull or a bear, it's an evolutionary fallback. You evolved to be a human being, taking millions of years, now you don't want to fall back. To be human means, what is unique about a human being is, we do the same things what the other animals do. It is just that all that the animal can do, we do the same things, but we can do it consciously. That's a big difference. And doing anything consciously will not come if you don't have sufficient attention towards things that you do or things that you do not do. Especially things that you do not do, you must have absolute attention towards those, otherwise they'll creep into you. So this attention deficiency syndrome has happened because people's idea of education is information. Right now, the whole idea of human education system has become heaping you with information. The more information you heap upon on any mind, or let's say starting from childhood, the more he will develop aversion to attention. Because without knowing anything, information gives you a false feeling that you know everything. This has become a fashion now. Today if you're invited for a dinner party, you Google out information about the 100 billion galaxies, they've all been numbered and named and all that, okay? That 566 BZ, that galaxy, you know, about that you know some information. You Google out, get these 2 sentences out and go to the dinner party. Whoever talks to you, they say, how are you? Hey, do you know about this galaxy which is a trillion light years away, which is a BB whatever? And you talk about it, everybody thinks you're smart. There's a whole problem with the world right now. We're considering information, we're mistaking information for intelligence. An entrepreneur or anybody who wants to navigate through any situation needs intelligence, not just information. Information may be useful on the side, but it is intelligence which will allow you to navigate through a particular situation in a unique way, not the way somebody else is doing. We are mistaking information for intelligence. Once you heap yourself with too much information, now attention is a serious problem. Once you have no attention, once you have no ability to hold your attention, you have lost your ability to access your intelligence also. You will just churn out the information from memory. There's a beautiful incident. You heard of Andrew Carnegie. When Andrew Carnegie started his enterprise, in a short span of time, he became so super successful and made so much money. At that time, okay, this is not the age of Google or Facebook or Twitter where in 2 years they become multi-billionaires and all. Those days, people had to set up manufacturing this and that and make money which would take decades or generations. So this guy made so much money in a short span of time, people suspected, the US government suspected he's doing some malpractice. They set up a Senate investigation committee. So they questioned him in every way possible and they found nothing wrong with his business. Then they asked, how do you manage to make so much money and be so successful? So Andrew Carnegie said something very simple. See, I can keep my mind focused on something for 5 minutes at a stretch. 5 minutes. Can any of you do it? All the senators. They thought, what's the problem with 5 minutes? And he set up an experiment. They tried to keep their attention, they couldn't keep it for a few seconds. One moment here, one moment there, this is the fate of most human beings. So then he said, you should not be running United States. So, human ability, there's something called as chitta. There's a different… see, in English language, mind is mind. Largely you're considering the memory part of your mind as mind. In the yogic system, there are 4 main aspects of the mind. I'll not go into the detail, but the memory part of the mind is of least importance. It's the chitta, which is connected with the consciousness, which is most important. If you find a shape for your chitta, that shape will manifest always, because it's empowered by life-making material which for lack of words we're using the word consciousness, that which is the basis of life. Once your mind is yoked to that, then what shape your mind takes, mind is like a cloud, you can make it any shape. You can make it godlike, you can make it a devil out of it, you can make a pig out of it, you can make whatever out of it, you know? It's a nebulous thing. So what shape you give to your chitta, it will always manifest in the world because it's empowered by life-making energy behind it. So that is the most important aspect of the mind, not the memory. Memory is important to handle the material aspects. After all, an entrepreneur may be just trying to handle material. It's fine, but I would like an entrepreneur's life to become an exciting adventure, where his process of exploring new possibilities become truly new possibilities in his experience, not just economic possibilities. And that possibility is there in an entrepreneur's life, that he can turn his entrepreneurship into a spiritual possibility and a spiritual growth, or growth of the being itself, which I feel everybody should explore. That's why we're trying to bring a spiritual element. Success will come easy more than anything, because success will come easy not because of any magic, simply because you function at your full potential. If you want to… there is… in schools they have something called as a three-legged race.
Yeah.
Though you get 3 legs, you run slower. With 2 legs, you would run faster, isn't it?
Yeah.
With 3 legs, you must become more efficient in numbers if you just simply look at it. But this is how it is. With more information means something that is not yours, you attach it to your memory and identify yourself with it. The more you do that, the less effective you become. But right now, our whole idea of education is information, and there is internet. A 12-year-old child knows what is the name of the galaxy up there, a trillion light years away, which is not good for him. Because this is not knowledge, this is not of any usefulness, this is only for boastfulness. And above all, it'll take away your ability to pay attention. Because the basis of attention is you realize that you do not know even a speck in the universe properly. In its entirety, you do not even know an atom. That's why you can pay attention. If you think, I know this, you cannot pay attention. It's the arrogance of information which will bring you attention deficiency.
Please relate fear, apathy and success. How to conquer fear and apathy on the way to success. That's all.
Okay. Fear about whether I will be successful or not. Where is apathy coming? No, your individual fear about whether I'll be successful or not, is that what you're talking? See, that's exactly what I've been telling you till now. Do not even think of success. Just enhance your capabilities. Strive to enhance who you are. Then what you can do, you'll anyway do, isn't it? Right now, you have an idea of success, but you don't have the competence for that. You want to go somewhere, but you don't have the legs to get there. Now, naturally there will be fear, naturally there'll be all kinds of unnecessary struggles and emotions. Instead of that, at this stage in your life, if you just focus on seeing how to enhance this human being to the highest possible level that you can, success will be a downhill run, not an uphill task. So, if you are going downhill, there's no fear, isn't it? Because whether I can get there or not, whether I can get there or not, you are working towards somebody else's idea of success. You're working towards somebody else's idea of success. That is not success. Your success is, you as a human being, you found your full potential. This is your success. And that's all you can do. Whether you stand on your head or you stand on your feet, the best that you can do, if this human being finds his fullest potential, that's all you can do. No matter what you do, you cannot do more, isn't it? Certain circumstances sometimes will loft us up, certain circumstances sometimes may not. But in the given circumstance, if you have blossomed to your fullest level, you will do well, isn't it? Don't think of success and be fearful about it. Just see how to make this one more and more capable. If the competence and capability is there, success will come as we deserve it.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. So, I'm saying that the idea of competition is so much ingrained in our minds, not even at the school level, but even at the postgraduate level or any aspect of our lives, that it creates a lot of unnecessary stress. So, what can be really done about this?
Competition is a good thing. If you're incompetent and you're in competition, you will feel stressed. So, if you want to be in a competitive situation, the thing is you have to work on your competence. Right now the problem is, you're tweaking your desire, you're not tweaking your competence. This is what has to happen, that we must teach children to tweak their competence. not their desire. We are calling this ambition, we are calling this goal-orientedness. Ambition means what? You tweaked up your desire, you'll suffer invariably. If you tweak up your competence, you will see wherever you go, you're doing better than what people expect you to, so naturally things will go well for you. Competition is not the bad thing, lack of competence is the bad thing. We must understand this. In this country, this is very important because we still think our education is cooked in heaven. Because people tell me temples are crowded just before the examination. Just the wrong place to be. Just the wrong place to be. When your examination is coming, you sitting in the temple is just the wrong place to be. In the vacation, you sat in the temple, great. So instead of competence, we have big desires. If you focus enough on enhancing your competence, you will see there is such joy in breaking limitations every day and becoming something better. You don't care a damn how somebody else is doing. Yes, if every day, if you're breaking limitations. When I was speaking to I think our home school, I was telling them, a class full of children should sound like eggs are hatching. You know, at one time I used to do sericulture, silk farming. And I was amazed. I was so amazed I didn't take them to the market sometimes. Because if you just leave the cocoon long enough, if you don't take it to the market, you should see how it opens up. Like this, it'll be making noise. Slowly they're opening it up. When 1,000,000 of them are trying to open, you go inside this room, it's going. This is how a school should sound. That every moment they're breaking their limitations. If you are breaking the limitations of who you are, if your competence, you're working constantly to expand, you don't even have the time to look at somebody, how is he doing? Because this is such a great thing happening within you. So please focus on your competence. Competition, you don't bother. If you're good, you will be on the top, otherwise you'll be somewhere. It's okay.
If we want to succeed in our life, which will play a major role, Guruji? Faith, God, effort or luck?
Or winning an election.
If we want to win in an election, that all luck is also important.
Faith, God, luck, effort. Maybe all of them. But in what proportion? So when you say fate, obviously it's something that you cannot do anything about. When you say luck, again obviously it's something that you cannot do anything about. When you say God, again it's something that you cannot do anything about. So only thing that's in your hands is effort. So put your 100% into your effort, what happens, happens, isn't it? So don't leave proportions of your energy and your capability to luck, God, fate, all these things. That's not your business. If there is such a thing, it will act. Your business is only effort, isn't it? Just do that. Effort has to be incisive in the sense, it should be focused, calibrated. Simply if you make effort, it's foolish effort, isn't it? Just labor is not going to get you somewhere. Right kind of action, the right timing, right place, all this is important, isn't it? So, for all these things to happen, you need perception and intelligence. So that's all you must do in your life. Constantly looking for ways to enhance your perception and your intelligence. Rest will anyway happen. This is one thing that unfortunately humanity is not doing. They're trying to become capable of something. Do not try to become capable of something. Just enhance your perception and intelligence, whatever comes your way. Right now, let us say it's like this, this is happening in the world all the time. Everybody wants to become a doctor. Not now, if 25 years ago it was so. If you want to study means, first thing is medicine. If you don't get a seat, what's next? Engineering. Don't get a seat, what? Next thing, like this. So let's say you became a doctor, and let us say everybody came to the yoga program and they stopped going to a doctor. At least your visits to the doctor has come down, isn't it? Has it? Has it come down or no? For sure, it's come down. So business will go down. It will no more be a good profession to go into, because very few doctors are becoming doctors because they want to become doctors. Others are becoming doctors because they think it's lucrative. Isn't it? Isn't it so? Most people are becoming doctors because they think somebody's sickness is a lucrative business. It's a very… I don't want to go into other aspects, it's quite disturbing for me. There are a few doctors who really want to be that. They want to understand the human system and they want to serve in that direction, that's great. Suppose everybody became healthy. You don't want that, isn't it? Yes, you don't want that. So do not try to put up a recipe for your success. Success is only when you are able to use yourself to your full potential. It doesn't matter whether you become a doctor or a politician or a yogi or what the hell you become is not the thing. Success means you are living your life to your full potential. That's what success means. If that has to happen, you need perception and an active intelligence. How do I grow my intelligence? Don't worry about that. Right now, the important thing is to enhance your perception. If you're able to see life just the way it is, you have the necessary intelligence to conduct it well. If you're not able to see life the way it is, your intelligence will work against you. Most intelligent people on this planet are generally the most miserable people on the planet. This is simply because they have an active intelligence but no perception of life. So, one most important thing that people have not worked at is to enhance their perception. They're trying to broaden their mind, that's not the point. That will only make you socially successful, not truly successful. If you want to be truly successful, you must be able to see everything just the way it is, without distortions. If you can see everything just the way it is, life becomes a play. You can play it joyfully, you can play it well, for sure. If you can play it well, people will say you're successful. You should never think, I want to be successful. Don't ever think, I want to be successful. Just see how to make this being into your full-fledged being. People will say one day, oh, he's successful, he's a great success. You should not be aspiring for success, it's a miserable way to structure your life. You will simply cause pain and suffering to yourself and suffering to everybody, because your idea of success is sitting on top of somebody's head, isn't it? Yes or no? Your idea of success is right now, everybody should be below you, you must be on the top. This is your idea of success. This is not success, this is sickness. So do not ever think of success. Just see how to make this into a full-fledged being. This will find expression. If it finds good expression, people around you will say, oh, he is a great success. That's fine. People should recognize you're a success. You should not be thinking how to be successful. Very wrong way to approach life.
Just working hard doesn't do things in the world. This is the biggest problem. Right from your childhood, your parents taught you, if you study, how should you study? Study hard. If you work, how should you work? Work hard. You do everything hard. If you do things hard, things won't happen. It'll become a donkey's life, just doing everything hard. Nobody told you, you must study in joy. Nobody told you, you must work in love. They told you, you must do it hard. They made their lives very difficult for themselves. Now they are ensuring that your life becomes difficult too. Why do you work hard? What are you working hard? If it's hard, give it up. If you can do it joyfully, you do it. Otherwise, don't do it, isn't it? Isn't it so? If you're going to make yourself miserable in the process of working, what use is your work to yourself or to anybody around you? You just sit at the temple gates and beg and eat, it's better. Somebody will throw you 1 rupee, 2 rupee. You eat out of it, at least that you do joyfully, sit there happily, eat what people throw into your bowl. If you're going to make it so hard for yourself, I'm sure you're making it very hard for everybody around you, isn't it? If you're going to spread misery in the world, it's better you don't do anything. If you're going to spread joy in the world, go and do as much as you can. Now you work hard. Just because you work hard, things need not happen, and they do not happen. One day it happened. Can I tell you a joke? Shankaran Pillai's old ambassador wouldn't start. Does anybody still own ambassador? No? All of you evolved out of it. His old ambassador wouldn't start. So he went home. He had a kitten at home. He brought the kitten, harnessed it to the ambassador. He said, go, let's go, let's go. People looked at this and said, are you crazy? Can this little kitten pull the ambassador car? Generally, it takes God to move this car. What are you doing? Shankaran Pillai said, don't you fool yourself, I have a horsewhip. You believe you can do everything hard and it'll work. It'll not work just because you do it hard. You must do the right thing, only then it works, isn't it? If you do not do the right thing, it does not work. People who are successful not because necessarily they work hard, they just know what's the right thing to do with their kind of job. That's why they're successful. Another day, Shankaran Pillai fell into the septic tank. I want you to imagine. Right up till here in filth. Please imagine and see. He tried to get out desperately, he couldn't. Then after some time, he started screaming, "Fire, fire, fire!" Neighbors heard the fire screams, called the fire brigade. The firemen came and looked everywhere, no fire. Then they found him in the septic tank, pulled him out. And then they asked, "Why were you screaming fire?" Then Shankaran Pillai retorted, "If I said shit, shit, would you come?" You must do the right thing, otherwise it doesn't work. So just working hard will not do. You must do the right thing, otherwise it doesn't work.
This is a particularly challenging time. What role can spirituality play in helping us deal with these times?
That's what every generation thinks, that their time is particularly challenging and testing time. It's the fancy of every generation, it's okay. Leaving that aside, what role can spiritual process play? It is like this. If you want to do anything well, suppose you want to drive well, the more you know about your car, the better you know your car, the better you can drive it. Is that so? Yes? Is it so? Then, this goes for you, the better you know this one, the better you can deal with it, the better you can conduct this to the process of life. Just knowing the surface of it, you're not going to do a great job. If you just want to go to your office, maybe you just have to know where the steering wheel is and where the 2 or 3 pedals are. But if you want to put this on the Formula 1 track, you better know everything, all the dynamics that are functioning in the driving of a car, isn't it? So if you want to be on the fast track, you need to know much more about it. If you somehow want to survive and go, you don't have to know much about it. I believe when you call yourself an entrepreneur, you're planning to be on the fast track. If you want to be on the fast track, there should be nothing about this that you do not know. You must know how to conduct this. You must know how this will function at its optimum level. When I say optimum, see right now, if I close my eyes and stand here, if somebody walks into this hall, I will tell you what kind of person has walked into this hall. You could do well with this in your office, isn't it? Yes or no? Yes. In your business, somebody walked into your place, if you just look at him, you know what has walked into your office. Would it be a big thing? Yes. Oh, what should I do? What great yoga should I do? No, this is not the quality of a yogi. Even your dog knows this. Yes or no? Your dog is sitting under the sofa, somebody came at the front door, he knows who has come. Yes or no? Why is it that you're missing out, I'm asking? You're missing out because you have messed up your mind in such a way. If you just learn to handle this properly, you will see human perception is such that you don't have to struggle with every little thing. The stress and nonsense that you're going through in life is simply because this has not been sufficiently explored. So spiritual process does not mean looking up or looking down, it means looking inward. Because the more you know about it, the more efficiently and more successfully you can conduct this. It doesn't matter what qualifications you have, it doesn't matter what accumulated information you have in your head, essentially your success is determined by how this one is right now. Yes or no? Yes. And how to keep this one in the highest possible level of alertness and balance, exuberance and equanimity. If you do not know this, you will be only successful by chance, and even if you're successful, anyway you will suffer it, you will not enjoy it.
For one who is seeing this life as a stepping stone for a larger possibility, for him there is no failure. For one who is looking at the simple events of this life itself as the goal of life, for him there is failure and success. If you're just seeing this life as a stepping stone for a larger possibility, if you have a good deal, you use that for your well-being. If you have a bad deal, you use that for your well-being. The economy was on the boom, when every fool could be successful. No, it didn't take much. When the economy is on the boom, everybody gets carried, isn't it? Now there has been a meltdown. Now it takes something else to be successful. So, when the economy was on the boom, you could have brought a certain dispassion towards the money that's flowing in. Now the economy is down, the taps are all closed up. It's time to come, meditate, walk in the mountains. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of time on your hands, isn't it? When there was money, it took away your time and life. Now the taps are closed, lots of time, this is the time. So it doesn't matter what the hell happens. It doesn't matter what the hell happens with your life. If you are seeing this life only as a stepping stone for a larger possibility, then whatever the situation, it is beautiful and very useful. Very, very useful. Once there was a farmer like you, who was tired of various natural factors ruling the quality of his crop. So one day he called Shiva. It was a wild card entry. So he found excess. And Shiva said, what? He said, I'm tired of all the natural nonsense happening. Obviously, you're not a farmer. I know from history that you were a hunter. You were not a farmer. You don't know what it means to farm. Why don't you leave the nature in my hands? I'm a farmer. I know when it should rain, I know when there should be sunlight, I know when there should be wind, I know everything. You don't know because you're just a hunter. And you're a crazy ascetic. You're definitely not a good farmer. The wrong times it's raining, at wrong times things are happening. You leave it to me. Shiva was one of those moods, he said, okay, nature is in your hands. Then the farmer planned his crop, planted a maize crop, rain, poke the land and see, okay, it's soaked up to 6 inches, stop. Then plough it, plant it, wait for 2 days, rain, sunlight. Today I'm working in the field, cloud. So everything just happened the way he wanted. A beautiful maize crop came. He was overjoyed, see. It's good. Nature should be in farmers' hands. And then when the time to harvest came, he wanted to see, because none of the birds were coming, he was surprised. Because that also he said, no birds, no birds. Then he went and opened and saw nice big everything, but you opened and saw no grain inside. Then he thought, what the hell is this? What did I do wrong? Then he couldn't figure out, because rain, water, sunshine, everything he managed properly. Then again he went back to Shiva. But he was in this condition. He waited for many years for him to open his eyes. By the time these many years, the fields and the family, everything went to… But he wanted to know the answer. What went wrong? He's farmer first. Then when Shiva opened his eyes, he asked, I did everything right, but there is no grain. Did you sabotage my crop? Shiva said, I've been watching. You were in charge, so I didn't want to interfere. The rain was great, the sunshine was great, everything was fine, but you stopped all the winds. I used to always send fierce winds which would threaten your crop. But because the plants felt pushed and threatened, they put their roots deeper into the earth. So grain happened. Now you have great maize crop. No maize? So, various situations in your life, either you can use it to make yourself stronger and better, or you can sit and cry. This is the choice you have. Everything. It doesn't matter what happens. The most horrific event happened in your life, that also can be used for your growth and your well-being, if you have clearly seen the small events of your life. When I say small events, I mean your business, your marriage, your children, all those big things. All these things are just a stepping stone. This is not new to you, because in this culture, they put this into you for centuries, for millenniums. They told you, your life is about mukti. Your marriage, your business, your social life, these are all just means to get there. Either you go with it or you go without it. But whether you are a sannyasi or you're in the samsara, your only goal is mukti. Yes? The goal was not just for the sannyasi, for everybody it is mukti. If you can walk alone, you walk alone. You want party going with you, you walk with the party. That's your choice. You want to get there quick, you walk alone. You want to go there having picnic on the way slowly, you go with people. Choice is yours. But the important thing is, whatever the hell you're doing, there's only one goal. So if you have set this up, then all the events of life, everything is beneficial. The boom is beneficial, the meltdown is even more beneficial actually. It is also ecologically very good, the meltdown. So, the fear of failure. Failure is bad enough. Fear is adding spice to it, isn't it? Success happens to you not because you desire it, because you earn it. Everybody desires it. It comes only if you're capable of it.
I know you have very interesting views on it, so greed. greed, I'm talking of in the corporate context, and we'll explore many hues as we go along of greed, but I'm sure we would all very curious to hear your views.
If you use the word greed, what it means is you're operating market economy with communism going around in your head. Only if you're a communist you can talk about greed. If you're market economy, don't talk about greed, talk about better laws. If somebody is making $1 billion per day, let's tax him. 900 million you can tax him and that will be distributed anyway. But enough to give him incentive to go on, not to take away his spirit. So this is how capitalism is managed. Here you don't talk about this whole corporate social responsibility, I think it's funny. It is just an eyewash. Instead of that, the government, if the administration, if it has the necessary sense, you can bring the right kind of policies where businesses can grow unbridled, but it will naturally benefit the rest of the society. This can be done with simple laws, taxation and other kinds of laws. Business laws can do this. There is no need to talk about service, there is no need to talk about greed. Everybody can live with dignity because if you are the receiving end of the service, you lose your dignity. If you are at the giving end of the service, you go to heaven, both are wrong.
What I hear Sadhguru saying is profit is a good motive, and if you call it greed, that greed is good. And
greed is good.
I think that is something that, profit is something that…
Now, if you look at the definition of greed, what is greed? See, for somebody who is walking to his workplace or his home, somebody who rides a bicycle and refuses to take him on the bicycle is greedy man. Somebody who is riding a bicycle sees a man driving a Maruti car and he thinks he's greedy. Just single man driving a Maruti car, he could take me, his family and my family in the Maruti car because Indians are able to squeeze, A man who's driving a Maruti car, when a Mercedes or a BMW whizzes past him, he says vulgarity of greed. A man who's driving BMW looks at a man who's driving a Bugatti and he thinks that is greed. So who is to set this definition for what is greed? I'm saying once you have chosen market economy, there is no room for that vocabulary in your life. You understand greed is the driving force. Now, it is for the laws to manage the greed so that your greed benefits everybody else. In African lore, there is a saying, when the lion feeds, everybody else gets fed. So if you're a lion, you have a big capability, when you feed, it is the laws which should make it in such a way, if you make profit, everybody should live well. Instead of talking about greed and service and corporate social responsibility, I don't know why they're deviating themselves into all this
So stay focused on maximizing profitability.
Yes.
Tax appropriately and let everybody grow.
Sadhguru, you have written a piece on karma, where you have made a statement that you will not grow unless you create the innermost desire to grow. So could you elaborate on those thoughts on karma?
See, desire is not something that you have to create. Is there somebody without desire, however religious you are? Is there somebody here without any desire? People have tried these teachings with you and they have not worked, isn't it? They told you, you must give up your desire, you must be satisfied with what you have, you must be content. Has it worked even for one human being on the planet, I'm asking? Has it worked? A teaching that does not work is just rubbish, isn't it? But it's gone around for too long because of so many reasons, we'll not go into that. Desire is not something that you create. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, there is something within you longing to be little more than who you are right now. Yes or no? Yes? If that little more happens, what? Little more. If that little more happens, what? Little more. If that little more happens, what? I can go on like this. Why you're going bit by bit, I will make you the king or queen of this planet. Will you remain fulfilled? Don't look at me hopefully, I will not make such a blunder. I am only saying, if you become the king or queen of this planet, will you be fulfilled? No. you will look at the stars, isn't it? So there is something within you which is longing to become boundless, to become infinite. Now you're approaching the infinite in installments. This is not a good way to go. In installments, can you ever get to the infinite? Can you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and one day say, this is infinite? You will only become endless counting, you will not know the infinite. This is not the way to approach the infinite. So the desire is just this, there is something within you which is always longing to become boundless. If I set a boundary for you, suppose I imprison you in let's say a 5x5 cubicle, you will feel horribly imprisoned. Tomorrow we'll liberate you into a 10x10 cubicle, you'll feel wonderful for a day, and again you'll feel imprisoned. Next day we'll liberate you into a 100x100 cubicle, you'll feel great for 3 days, again the same thing. It doesn't matter where I set the boundary. The moment you can feel the boundary, you want to break it, isn't it? This is not something cultivated within you. This is not your entrepreneurial spirit. This is the nature of life. Life wants to be something more all the time. How much more? Limitlessly more, isn't it? So more is not what you're looking for, all is what you're looking for. If you want to take all, can you conquer it? If you want all, if you want more, you can conquer. If you want all, can you conquer it? Can you earn it? So you need to look at it now. If you want all, what should you do about it? If you look at that, you will naturally turn spiritual.
I don't know whether I can speak for you, but truly I've been kind of amazed. It's in the middle of the program and by the experience. I mean, the whole attention to detail, the sheer planning that seems to have gone in, it's truly extraordinary. And I was hoping, Sadhguru, to explore the fact that this program is being run and managed by a team of volunteers, young volunteers, who seem to have done an extraordinary job of creating a very, very unique experience. And Sadhguru, I was hoping if you could kind of help us understand what it takes to run a volunteer program of this kind. You're traveling around the world, right? And this program has been in works for a few months now. What does it take to infuse passion and purpose in these young volunteers?
Essentially, volunteering means to become willing. Or in other words, to become an absolute yes to life. Most human beings are yes if it's convenient, no when it's not convenient. Yes if it's yielding something, no if it's not yielding something for them. A volunteer means there's only one thing that he's dropped, which is a very significant thing. He's just dropped this one calculation, what can I get? If a human being drops this one calculation, what can I get out of this? If he drops that, suddenly he becomes a phenomenon. This is something that I'm constantly demonstrating to people, what our volunteers can do. This is a small program for us. If you see our major events, like for example, Mahashivratri is coming, over 1 million people will be there through the night from evening 6 to morning 6. Or if you look at the Project Green Hands or the rural rejuvenation programs, and just about anything that's been done here. For example, the Dhyanalinga dome, just to tell you what goes into it, the dome is made in such a way, there is no cement, there is no steel, there's no concrete. The simple technology is, all the bricks are trying to fall down at the same time, so they cannot. It's like everybody's trying to get out of the door and they cannot. Unless one person has the courtesy to move back, then they will go. But the bricks don't have courtesy. So they keep on trying to come down and they cannot come down. So for this to happen, it took 1.8 lakh bricks to build that. This 180,000 bricks, every one of them was measured to the millimeter by the volunteers. If somebody is little lax, somebody puts a brick which is 2 millimeters less than what it should be, the whole thing may collapse. So I sat down and I spoke to them, see, this is what it means, this is what I'm placing in your hands. You never handled a brick in your life, but you got to measure like this. And men, women, children sat down day and night, and they measured and they measured and they measured and they kept these bricks. And now when they keep… it has to be just kept quickly so that it doesn't come down. One circle you have to complete at a time. And today you see that. I'm just saying just one example. Any number of things like this have been done. What is it that fires them? See, there is something beyond passion, there is something beyond motivation, there is something beyond profit, which is very significant for a human being, which generally most human beings never explore. Their whole life remains within certain expectations of profit, some passion towards it, some intensity, but volunteers live an intense life. So through the night people are working, but in the day they are working. When do they sleep? They don't. This is my experience. I'm like this, I'm on at least 22 hours a day, 7 days of the week. Because there's work going on in United States, in every part of the world, which are in different time zones. At 2 o'clock in the morning, if I just pick up my phone, somebody, one of the swamis or somebody picks up the phone, never once will I hear a goggy voice, "What, Sadhguru?" No. Sadhguru? It doesn't matter any time of the day or night. This is the greatest blessing, that you constantly live among people who are intense, focused and willing to give themselves to what needs to happen. This is the greatest pleasure a man can have, this is the greatest fortune a man can have, and fortunately we have it. We think the only way to do business is cutting each other's throat. No, we're beginning to understand more than competition, whole lot of competitors, die-hard competitors are today all cooperating with each other, collaborating with each other. A collaboration, a collaborative process is a far more powerful process than a competitive process. It's a wrong idea that only when you're pushed to the wall you'll do your best. It's a very wrong idea. You tell me, when does your body and brain work at your best? Does it work at its best when you're joyful, peaceful, or does it work at your best when you're pushed to the wall? Human potential is at its best only when there is a certain level of pleasantness within the human being. And people who are taking positions of power and responsibility have this responsibility that they must do this. To put it in a very simplistic manner, see, if I meet any of you, when you're very happy, I'm sure you're wonderful people. But if I happen to meet you when you're angry, frustrated, miserable about something, you could be nasty, isn't it? Yes or no? This is true with every human being. So, when you rise to your position of power and responsibility, the first and foremost thing is just this, that you have to make yourself into an extremely pleasant being, because if you become blissful and pleasant, you will naturally do your best to everything around you. There is no other way for a human being. Joy is an insurance, that's all I'm saying.
Whoever you are and whatever you are doing, success will not really come without grace. Grace is not something that you seek, it is something that is always there. It is for you to become available to grace. You may have intelligence, you may have competence, you may have capabilities and opportunities, but grace is like a lubricant in a machine. Without grace, with all the best parts, it still doesn't work. Just like that in human life, without becoming available to grace, there is no such thing as true success.